Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome for joining once again for this geography lesson. My name is Bonzet, and once again, just thank you to Liberty for this opportunity to bring these lessons to you, where you're sitting on your couch, and go for Tenfold Education, the app. Go and give it a follow. Now, I would like to continue from last week, Thursday, and we had so many questions coming in from you learners, and it's absolutely fantastic because obviously then we're learning and we can experience the different types of questions that you might experience in the final exam. Now, the question I wanted to start off today's lesson is a question from Sharon. Now, she asked us to study this informal settlement figure over there. It's a cartoon. And if you look at the cartoon, it says illegal electricity. I don't know what you mean. But first of all, there's a couple of key things that we need to pay attention towards this cartoon over there. Now, it mentioned it's an informal settlement in India. Now, grade 12s, there's quite a lot of confusion between the informal sector and the informal settlement. An informal sector is like spaza shops next to the road who doesn't contribute to the GDP, gross domestic product, so they don't pay taxes. An informal sector settlement, is lack basic needs and services. And before we're going to look at the questions, we're going to just focus on this cartoon that was given to us. Now, first of all, we can see a lady carrying water. First of all, that's a lack of service and needs. I mean, if you look at it, water should be being provided by the government on a daily basis. You don't need to go and fetch water. Unfortunately, in informal settlements, many people don't have piped water. So that's our first service that's basically lacked in the settlement. Then secondly, if we look at the infrastructure of the houses, as you can see, now we have different names for informal settlements. We call them shanty towns, we call them townships, we call them shacks, right? So we have different names all over the world. But if you look at the material being used, okay, it's not according to regulations, safety regulations. So it's quite unsafe. As you can see, another example we can take from the cartoon is look at the road. It's a dirt road. It's covered in potholes. So once again, they lack adequate roads. For example, that's a service and that's a need. Further, we can continue by just looking at the cartoon itself. Illegal electricity. As you can see, they've mentioned over here, overloaded electricity poles. Now, especially in these informal settlements, because people don't earn enough money, people do make their own electricity connections. That's illegal. And furthermore, you can see it, the infrastructure of the houses, there's lack foundation in it, and you can see it, generally it looks like a poor area. Now, if you go and look at the questions quickly, study figure 3.4 showing an informal settlement in India. What is an informal settlement? Now, I've mentioned to you before, please do not get confused between the informal sector and the informal settlement. An informal settlement lacks basic needs and services. When I talk about basic needs, we can just add over here, basic needs is such as water, electricity, and sewage. Services, for example, is clinics, roads. We can almost say like municipality clean it up services, rubble removal, clinics, roads, and we can even mention schools because that's a basic service that needs to be provided. So informal settlements lack these basic needs and services. Let's just continue to the next question. Name one basic service that an informal settlement that an informal settlement basically lacks. Now, once again, grade 12s, we've basically answered that question by just looking at the cartoon. First of all, this lady had to go and fetch water. Water is a basic service. Lacks it. They don't have piped water, for instance. There's service delivery problems. As you can see, roads are not even tarred. As you can see, they lack electricity. They make their own illegal electricity connections. And if you look at the housing, it's not proper housing, definitely not safe, and built according to regulations. So that will answer question 3.4.2. 3.4.3. Now, if you look at this diagram, even though they've mentioned India, if you go to townships in South Africa, we experience the same amount of problems, similar problems that we see in this cartoon. Now, the question states, explain why the question 3.4.3. Explain why illegal electricity connections are also common in informal settlements in South Africa. Now, the simple reason for that is because our informal settlements grow quite quickly. So the demand for electricity is very high. But unfortunately, we don't have enough electricity to support these people. But the main reason is because people can't afford the electricity. So many times they do illegal connections, electricity connections. Our informal settlements is growing exceptionally fast. The simple reason why is because of rural-urban migration, especially in urban areas such as Johannesburg and Pretoria. These townships get bigger and bigger because people are looking for employment, looking for better services. And as this happens, the informal sectors grow. And unfortunately, the municipalities and the government can't keep up with the demand of the people for clean drinking water, for example, or sewage or proper housing. If you look at question 3.4.4, explain why the safety officer is justified in giving the informal settlement a fine. Now, as you can see, the safety officer standing over here, as you can see, writing out a fine to the person making these illegal electricity connections. First of all, it's extremely dangerous. People can lose their lives, not supposed to play around with electricity, it's extremely dangerous. And once again, it costs the municipality much more, and obviously the theft of electricity. So in the end of the day, it costs the government more money, and it's extremely dangerous. So we can just add it down there. It's dangerous, and government, it costs government millions in extra electricity tariffs. Okay, let's continue to the next question. In a paragraph of 8 lines, evaluate how the people and the activities in informal settlements negatively affect the environment. Now, first of all, this doesn't look like a clean and safe environment. As you can see the puddles of mud, people living very close to one another, illegal electricity connections over there. Now, how does it have a negative effect on the environment? Now, first of all, without proper water, the water might be dirty. Sewage might go into the water as well, so it's definitely not sustainable. Incorrect building methods of these houses. I just want to continue over there, down at the bottom. Incorrect housing. Now, no foundation has been used to build these houses. So the incorrect housing can cause soil erosion. Okay, we can experience waterborne diseases such as cholera because there's no proper sewage. And most importantly, because many of these settlements don't actually have electricity. Now, especially during winter months, what do they do to keep themselves warm? They deforestate. What does deforestation mean? Removing plants and trees. So they usually actually use it for firewood to keep themselves warm. So air pollution is also going to be a major problem. For instance, because of deforestation, because they're using the trees as firewood. Okay, that's not only the only cause of pollution, but we can look at water pollution as well. Because of sewage, I've already mentioned it. But also people use the water to wash their clothes. So that's a major concern for water pollution, sewage, for example. And we can also mention, because of the deforestation taking place, removing of trees, it definitely cause soil erosion. If we go back to our diagram. Now, thank you very much for this question, Sharon. Excellent question regarding informal settlements. Excellent question. They love to use this question in the final examination because we have quite many examples of informal settlements in South Africa.